Welcome to the TD9 podcast. I'm your host, Jay, bringing you this news update. So, as you guys have probably already heard, that the Silicon Valley Bank has shut down. So, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Communist News Network, CNN, and see what they have to say about it.
Major development in the banking world. The FDIC just reported that California regulators shut down Silicon Valley Bank, a big lender out in California, after reporting a loss of over $1 billion. There were fears of a run on this bank. People wondering if they should have PTSD into 2008. What's going on here?
Yeah, this really is an earthquake, especially for the tech community. Silicon Valley Bank dropped by 60% yesterday alone. We just learned today that California regulators have shut this lender down. This is the biggest failure since 2008. It's actually the second biggest failure ever since Washington Mutual in September of 2008. This is a major lender to tech startups. The FDIC says that insured depositors, they will have full access to insured deposits by Monday morning. Insured deposits, that means up to $250,000. Of course, we know that some small businesses, some startups, some individuals, they have more than that $250,000. It's not clear if they're going to get all of their money back. This, of course, is not sitting well in the marketplace. We see the Dow is down by more than 250 points. Banks are leading the way lower. The good news here is that experts that I'm talking to, they are hopeful that this is an isolated incident, that this is not part of a broader systemic issue.
Okay, now as you see, the Silicon Bank closed down entirely. Stocks are down in banks. Goldman Sachs, Bank of America. Here's a couple just from Yahoo Finance, just to see like this is not an isolated incident, even though the guy tried to say it is. The stocks are down completely, and it's not just Silicon Bank facing these issues. Bank of America customers were having issues as well. So let's go ahead and check that out.
I'm missing $1,400 from my account, and they're telling me that there's no way they can help us. You missing money too? There you go.
I get a text alert and it says my account is overdrawn.
One customer tweeted their balance of negative $2,000. Most complaints involve the payment transfer service Zelle.
I did see that what was causing my negative balance was the Zelle transfer that I had at one time seen in my account and had received notification. It just disappeared.
I went to see my bank account and then I saw there's $100 less.
Okay, so you see the stocks went down, right? Like you took a look at that, and then you see that it's not an isolated incident. The Bank of America people are losing their money, customers are losing their money. This kind of reminds me of the bailout of 2008 when your boy Obama was in office, y'all favorite president, and the economy took a massive hit and the government had to bail them out. Now, mind you, the government doesn't have any money. That's your money. Right, so I believe what they're going to lead to, like we're seeing with Bank of America, is hypothetically YouTube bail in. So to bail out, the government puts money to banks so they don't fail, and with the bail in, they take money directly from the depositors and unaccredited accounts. So that's what we're looking at. Okay, so I believe that banks are going to want a more, not even banks, the government itself is going to want a more direct line to transfer money. And honestly, this is a perfect opportunity to use the bank failures as an excuse to do this. And it's something they've already been working on since Biden got into office. So they're working on a digital currency, and we're going to see that now.
The Federal Reserve might want to fix your wallet by turning it from this into this. Though your wallet is still designed for dollar bills, Americans have been using cash to buy things less and less over the years. That's part of why the Fed is considering digitizing the US dollar, giving people money they can access on their phone and bypassing electronic payments that can be slow and costly for businesses. Some see this as a necessary upgrade to the US financial system, but others worry it could potentially upend commercial banking.
There are some very, very difficult questions to answer, but I think we are engaged in a serious program to understand both the technology and the policy issues.
A central bank digital currency, or CBDC, is exactly what it sounds like. a purely digital form of a country's money issued by its central bank that people can use just like cash. It's true that cards and apps already allow for electronic payment, but behind the scenes, these financial transactions involve several steps, settling payments over a patchwork of systems.
The plumbing of the system is still based on a cash system.
Josh Lipsky is the director of the Atlantic Council's Geoeconomic Center and says the U.S. financial system is still pretty old school when it comes to moving money around.
It's based on banks talking to banks saying, hey, I need you to transfer this to me. We've updated some of that over the years, but if you were to look back, a lot of it dates back to the 1950s and before. And that's not a great way to run a modern global economy.
Not a great way to run a modern global economy. So remember that, global economy. I'm not gonna say what it is for YouTube purposes, but just build this image for yourself. All right, so we're gonna continue this video. The video is long, I chopped it up. I don't wanna get demonetized just yet. So we're gonna continue with the rest of this, but let's check the rest of this out, man.
After a debit card is swiped, the transaction can flow through several entities, including point-of-sale systems, payment networks like Visa and MasterCard, your bank, and the merchant's bank. The system can take up to 3 days to move money between accounts, and often comes with transaction fees that can weigh heavily on small businesses, who experts say may have to pass the cost onto customers or put restrictions on card usage. These extra costs can limit their revenues and customer base. CBDCs could bypass this system, allowing digital money to flow directly between two people, in the same way you hand over cash at the register. One method the Fed is considering is issuing digital wallets to Americans directly, or through commercial banks or other financial service providers. The digital dollars themselves would be no more than computer code, possibly stored on a central ledger at the Fed or on a distributed ledger like many cryptocurrencies. When you use your wallet to pay for something, the Fed would take the digital cash out of your wallet and deposit it into the merchants, simplifying the process and doing it without fees. These could be done through an app on a phone, or for those without smartphones, an SMS text message or debit card. Besides frictionless payments, a digital dollar could help the 8.4 million unbanked households who don't have a debit or credit card and can get left behind in a cashless world. For example, instead of mailing checks, the government could deposit your tax refund or stimulus payments directly into your Fed wallet, making the money available immediately.
All right, let me remind you that this digital currency is government authorized. It's not like Bitcoin. It's not anonymous. This is traceable. They know exactly what you're buying, where you're buying it at, what you're spending your money on. Like, all those things are important. I think the way they're going to try to advertise this to you is by saying things like, oh, this will cut down on people buying guns illegally. This will cut down on, drug sales or something like that. Like, that's not how that works. A lot of the drugs we get are out of the country anyway, even though this is going to be a global thing. People find other things to trade with. They may trade weapons for the drugs that they're putting into the country. So we're going to continue with the rest of this video, all right?
Economists believe that if the Federal Reserve were to assign interest rates to the money stored in digital wallets, it would be much more effective at influencing economic decision-making at the household level. According to a January survey, 60% of central banks around the world are currently experimenting with CBDCs. The Bahamas was the first country to release a digital currency, called the Sand Dollar, in October 2020. And China has been developing and testing a digital version of the yuan. But there are questions about how a digital currency would work in the US.
Legitimate digital public money could help drive out bogus digital private money. It could help improve financial inclusion, efficiency, and the safety of our financial system if that digital public money is well designed and efficiently executed, which are two very big ifs.
The recent rise of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and private currencies like Facebook's Diem have spurred central banks to explore CBDCs in an effort to keep pace. Experts say these alternative currencies expose the risk of money and payments circulating outside the watchful eyes of central banks.
This is a blind spot for them, because when they're setting monetary policy, they like to know how much money is in circulation, broadly how that money is being used, and so that helps them understand the macroeconomics and the fundamentals of the economy at any given time.
But by keeping up with new competitors, CBDCs could threaten to leave traditional banking behind.
So if the Fed were to become a bank in a traditional sense, and actually issue people money and hold people's money directly, then you might hold less money in your Bank of America app, and that would cut into their business model. So they have to think about how digital currencies affect their business.
All right, so you heard Elizabeth Warren. She was saying that this currency could drive out bogus public currency like Bitcoin. There's already been acts passed by Biden as well in his administration to crack down on things like Bitcoin. And you heard she said this will stabilize our banking system. So just put this in perspective. The banking system's already having these issues. We don't know what it's caused, let's put it that way, how it's caused or what's causing it. We see this in the West Coast as of now and spreading to other banks. And this is a perfect excuse to implement this digital currency. And as you've seen from the video, this is already in China. Got something for you later on this China thing. And that's just where it's leading us, leading us to the slaughter. Let's continue the video.
The Fed would also have to tackle privacy concerns over how anonymous digital dollar payments should be, and whether the money should be restricted to specific transactions or programmed to expire after a certain time period to encourage spending. It plans to release a discussion paper on the benefits and risks of a digital dollar this summer, and has said it wouldn't move forward without support from Congress. Many experts say the Fed will need to figure out a digital dollar to keep up with the pace of a rapidly changing global economy. What that looks like remains to be seen, but it could mean using this a lot less.
They want to know if this can be restricted to specific transactions. So that should let you already know that this is programmable. Where this is going to lead us, we don't know. But I do want to mention that the more we keep our money into this digital system, let's say on your phone, the less money you're going to keep into the banks, therefore destabilizing the banks. And the banks are already becoming destabilized. Stocks are already down, as you've seen earlier. So they're putting you in a situation where you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. There's at least one person fighting back, and that's Florida's favorite governor, Ron DeSantis. And of course, there could be more, but as far as I know, he's the first person to propose a ban for a state for digital currencies. So we're going to take a look at that. Markets Insider states, on Monday, DeSantis proposed legislation that will make Florida the first state in the country to ban the use of digital currencies issued by the Fed or any foreign central bank. The Fed has been studying the feasibility of a CBDC at the direction of President Joe Biden. A CBDC is a digital version of an existing currency, like its physical fiat counterpart, will be backed by the full faith and credit of the issuing government. Talk of CBDCs heating up during the cryptocurrency boom of 2020 and 2021, which put pressure on governments to explore the potential issue of their own digital currency. The proponents of CBDCs argue that a digital currency would enable faster transactions with lower fees, improve efficiency with cross-border exchanges, and improve accessibility to the unbanking population. But according to DeSantis, a digital currency issued by the Fed is about surveillance and control and would ultimately hurt innovation. The Biden administration's efforts to inject a central bank digital currency is about surveillance and control. Today's announcements would protect Florida's consumers and businesses from the reckless adaptation of centralized digital dollar, which will stifle innovation and promote government-sanctioned surveillance, DeSantis said. DeSantis also argued that any digital currency issued by the Fed would diminish the roles of community banks. Like I mentioned before, banks would close because the money is being moved, so damned if you do, damned if you don't, which would have come into the focus this month amid the ongoing regional bank crisis. The crisis is a perfect excuse. A federal sanctioned CBDC as proposed by the Biden administration would diminish the roles of community banks. So I want to bring to your attention that this just isn't an American thing. This is global. So we have the Masters of Evil, Injustice Society, Legion of Doom, also known as the World Economic Forum, are having meetings discussing a digital currency. Like, this is going to go global. So one, cash for everybody, leading to other oneness things, Let's take a look at that. Please hold on. The video's a little long. Try to hold your attention, all right?
While Phase 2 will examine the macroeconomic impacts of digital currencies and inform approaches for digital currency regulation. Central Bank of Israel is one of many banks exploring the possibility of digital currency. The bank has since built a central bank digital currency hub, which has seen some advantages.
It's important to notice and emphasize that the transaction would be immediate as opposed to several days, in which is what's happening in today's system. One of the key insights, and I'm getting to, was that it is possible to make a direct and immediate cross-border payment between CBDC coins of different countries.
South Africa also took part in exploring the potential use of central bank digital currencies for cross-border payments last year. While Phase 2 is currently ongoing, governors of different countries agree that there's a need for a conversation with policymakers regarding the move to digital currency.
The technology, there are enough people to solve the technology problem. The big issues are about public choice, they are about regulation, and more importantly, about the governance arrangements that are going to be put.
Something that just came to mind. Look into something called Amazon One. Literally, if you're on your phone now, just when this video's over, Google Amazon One. It's a whole website where Amazon came up with this technology that allows you to pay for certain things with the palm of your hand. So you scan your hand because everyone has a different palm signature, and you can use that for purchases. And the first place I know that's picking this up is Panera Bread. So it's going to get a lot of these middle-aged women who like overpriced hospital food. So they plan to expand to other regions. So imagine this. Digital currency is already in effect, right? You have the digital currency and it's tied to your palm print. You're going to go to Walmart or whatever your supercenter is, gas stations, and you're going to scan the palm of your hand. You know, cashless society, even without even using your wallet. So that actually reminds me of China's social credit score. And I think, hypothetically, for YouTube, that's where this is leading to. You know, we already have this push for socialism and communism in the country, and we know how China is ran. So you remember during the pandemic when certain, people wouldn't get, including myself, wouldn't get the jab or wanted to wear a face mask. There were arguments about locking these people up, saying like, hey, if you don't want to protect the world, you don't want to protect the people around you, you need to be jailed. You're a danger to my grandmother or my auntie or something like that. So, and people lost their jobs. So now with China's social credit score, if you jaywalk, you buy too much alcohol, buy too many video games, your credit score goes down. Then you can't get loans. You can't get train tickets, plane tickets, hotels. All of that's tied into their social credit system. Now, they're already getting us into that mindset of taking freedoms away from people who disagree with them. So you disagree with LGBTQ, you disagree with the jab, we possibly could be on this social credit system. And once again, the money's digital. If the money's digital, you can be restricted from buying certain things. What else could this be getting into? Like there is the climate activists. You drive a gas-powered vehicle, you drive a diesel truck. That could be a thing. They can restrict you on that, forcing you to either go electric or drive only a certain amount of miles. There's a lot of restrictions into this, and we're gonna look into China's credit score. Let's take a look at that.
So, picture your life in a place where everything you do, what you buy, how you behave, is tracked. The government gives you a score, and the score is a measure of how trustworthy you are as a citizen and determines what you're allowed to do, like ever. Boarding a train, getting a mortgage, all goes back to this score. It's called social credit. It sounds like that show Black Mirror, but it's actually happening in China. So how does that change you? Does it change you? What does your life look like when your every move is watched? The system's eyes are in big data, artificial intelligence, and roughly 200 million surveillance cameras. And that's totally fine with Oh-young Hao-yu. She's 21, graduated from a good school with solid grades. She's diligent. She's nice. No surprise, she's a 752. That's her rating with Sesame Credit, a private company working with the government on the algorithms for the social credit system. The scores go from 350 to 950 and are based on habits and behavior. Buy clothes or diapers, it's good. A lot of alcohol, too many video games, not so good. Hao-yu's 752 puts her in model citizen range and gets her discounts and privileges, like using a shared bike without a deposit. She likes it. Her friends do too. They all have pretty high scores.
It's a mechanism like pushes you to become a better citizen, to build on the trust, especially on the Chinese market.
Because you're not going to be punished if you haven't done anything wrong.
I think that's...
So you won't be punished if you're not doing anything wrong. Is buying too much alcohol wrong? What if you're at a Super Bowl party? Buying too many video games wrong? This is restricting your freedom until what the government wants you to be, until the way they want you to act. These people who have no problem with it, they're just completely coddled. Like they have like this sheltered existence where they're not gonna exercise their free will. But this video continues, and we're gonna finish the rest of this.
And it's mandatory. When it goes national, social credit scores will be assigned to every one of China's citizens for life. And what's weird is that so many people seem okay with it. It's complicated, but China went from extreme poverty to economic giant pretty quickly. A credit history system didn't grow at the same pace, so people would default on loans and get away with it. Add in scandals around fake food, tainted baby milk, counterfeit goods, and what you've got is a big problem with trust. So, in 2014, the Communist Party called for a system to allow the trustworthy to roam everywhere under heaven while making it hard for the discredited to take a single step.
So as you've seen from the video, that this is mandatory, and it's not too far-fetched, it's not too hard to imagine. When they tried to mandate the jab, people lost their jobs, they mandated the social distancing, they made us stay in our homes. So it's not hard to imagine, especially since we're having this push towards socialism and communism. And as you also seen, they said the problem arose because the government couldn't trust the people. And I want to say that, like, the government is supposed to be under our control. We should be able to trust them, not necessarily the other way around. If we like the way our government's running or being ran, we wouldn't have a problem. But as Americans, we have the right to overthrow an unjust government. As you see, they have the complete opposite there in China. But we're going to go ahead and continue with the rest of this video.
The model is a place called Rongcheng. It's in Shandong province. It's orderly. Streets are spotless. Cars slow down, which is unheard of in China. Words like honesty and credibility appear on propaganda posters. Display cases show pictures of Rongcheng's most honored citizens. You start with 1,000 points, and you can print out your report anytime. You lose points for things like jaywalking, littering, tossing cigarette butts, or spreading rumors. Cameras do a lot of the surveillance work, but it's pretty analog too, like posters that list the ways you can gain or lose points. And each night, local TV shows the surveillance highlights of the day.
They have propaganda all over the wall, as you've seen on the video, telling you pretty much to obey. They have billboards up and posters of who's the greatest puppet, who's following the rules the best. And at night on the news, they have a shame show. It's kind of like how here, you're publicly shamed if you say something that may be a little controversial. You get banned, you get deplatformed, you could lose your job. That's potentially your livelihood. They shame you into loving evil. They shame you for not being okay with child drag shows. They shame you for not wanting to comply with the government mandates like the jab. it's complete control and perversion of our own free will, of our God-given free will. But we're going to continue with the rest of this.
And then there's Zhou Aini. She's an information collector, a paid enforcer who walks around and writes down deeds about her neighbors. Like the man who carried a drunk person home. Things like this are good deeds, she said. But the farmer overheard swearing and being rude. Yeah, bad deeds. Her quota is 10 a month. She likes the work, thinks the city's better for it. The thing about the social credit system is that there isn't one single system. Not yet. Different places have different rules. So what do you do if you have bad social credit? Well, for one, you talk about it on Weibo, which is like Twitter. There are forums for discredited people to vent and get advice. In Chongqing, we hooked up with Huang Huijun. He had a business until he was sued by a client, and Huang refused to pay 90 grand to settle it. So the court put him on a social credit blacklist, and things got way worse. He explains that being blacklisted means he can't buy airplane or train tickets. When he tries, a message pops up saying he's discredited. By the end of last year, blacklisted people were blocked from booking 23 million flights and 5 million high-speed train trips. And the list goes on. Being discredited makes it hard to get a job, a loan, a hotel room, or put kids in certain schools. Then there's the public shaming. Photo galleries of blacklisted citizens. There's even an app that shows who around you is in debt.
Okay, so you can't get loans, you can't get hotel rooms, you can't put your children in certain schools. You're completely blacklisted. People around you get to see how, bad of a citizen you are according to their social credit system. You know, it's completely, there's no sense of privacy there. You know, it's a complete corruption of freedom. That's like what we have in America. This is why we say this is the greatest country on earth, because we don't have things like that. And we're fighting to not have things like that. But we're going to continue.
But algorithmic surveillance makes it possible to collect data to build detailed profiles of people, especially the ones not loyal to the government. Of all the video surveillance cameras on the planet right now, nearly half of them are in China. People bothered by privacy concerns?
So we think the lot of camera keep the safety is really good things. A lot of people, we can accept it.
And cameras are getting smarter. So the information that comes up from my image identifies that I'm female, middle-aged, talks about whether I'm wearing glasses, the shape of my face. AI is taking them next level. They can do more than just see. They actually understand who they're seeing. So at what point can the technology know too much? Does it already?
In most time, people don't care about it. But
you see in China, they have this AI implemented into their camera systems. We don't even know how far we have it into ours, you know, and it's intelligent. It's building a profile on you. It's not just recording your actions. It knows who you are just by your facial structure. So I'm very cautious of certain apps and programs they have, like the apps you get when it's like, oh, make me an old person or make me a baby. All of that is facial recognition. I'm very cautious of Face ID. Like, I feel like I don't even use those things. I feel like every time you're doing it, you're updating their system to know the exact measurements of your eyes, your nose, your lips. And is it just something that I intentionally steer away from, you know, just because I feel like we're heading in that direction. And as you can see with this China system, I feel like hypothetically we're going to be led in that direction. We're going to sacrifice freedom for security. And let's go ahead and wrap this up, but I want to leave you with this message. I want to say that when God created mankind, he gave us something unique. He gave us free will, and we used our free will to listen to Satan, and that's what caused the fall. And we're continuing to do the same thing over and over again. Every day, I feel like we're just falling deeper and deeper and further away from God. When you have a government, a system who punishes you for not agreeing that a man could be a woman or a woman could be a man, or children stripping is okay, or being castrated and mutilated, that we can kill babies in the womb. We're this country's just evil, and we have people who are applauding this. They're rewarding you for it. Every day, just like the memes, every day we steer further and further away from God. So thank you for tuning in to this TD9 podcast. And as always, we'll keep you updated. I'll try to make sure I put the links to all the videos I share with you guys, either in the description or in the comment section, so you can watch the full thing for yourselves. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and tune in next time.